Hello, and welcome to Financial Fluence. Today, we'll be talking about side hustles that are incredibly profitable since they take very little time and practically anyone at any age could perform them to earn an extra $20 to $200 per day without having to sign up for clinical drug trials, sell your kidney for beer money, scalp tickets, or work an MLM on weekends. So, without further ado, here are some of my favorite hustles from the sea of side hustle alternatives out there. And I guarantee that if you watch it all the way to the finish, you'll be able to implement a couple of these ideas right away. First, we'll go over the fundamentals of building a second source of income. And the quickest one that practically everyone can start applying right away is dividend income. Of course, you might argue that dividend income isn't a side hustle. It's simply lovely, sweet passive income, and you'd be correct. However, the goal of a side hustle is to generate numerous streams of income, and this is probably the easiest one to start with right now. Here's how it works. When you buy a stock, you're actually purchasing a small piece of the business's ownership, and when the company makes a profit, they may pay you a portion of that profit in the form of a dividend. For instance, according to reports, the average dividend in the financial industry is 4.1%. Utility firms pay around 3.9%, while consumer goods, healthcare, and industrial companies pay around 2.2%. That means that if you invest $100 in one of those stocks, you may make anywhere from $2 to $4 each year for doing nothing more than pressing a few keys on your phone. Of course, I get it with this one, because it needs money to make money. I'll go through a few more free choices shortly. If you have the income and don't mind investing it, dividends may be a great side hustle. And believe me when I say you won't want to stop once you get started. Second, given we've just discussed dividend income, it would be irresponsible of me not to mention the other type of income that comes with stocks, which is capital gains. This is what happens when you profitably sell an investment, such as a dividend stock, and the amount you pay tax on is known as capital gains. For example, if you buy a stock for $10 and sell it for $25, you'll owe tax on 15% of the profit, which will be reported to the IRS as a new source of income. It's also another way to profit from stock investments because not all stocks pay dividends. Instead, many stocks are classified as growth stocks because the money they don't pay out in dividends is reinvested back into the company, driving the stock price even higher. It's the same as buying a $100 stock, and instead of receiving a 5% dividend every year, the stock price rises by 5% every year at the end of the day. It's virtually the same thing, only you won't be taxed on the increase in stock value until you sell it, unlike dividends, which require you to pay tax each year based on the amount of money you earn. Not only that, but the capital gains tax rate on investments held for more than a year is often lower than on unqualified capital gains. So take advantage of this, especially if you're young and not generating a lot of money. This is why most rich investors favor growth stocks as a secondary source of income, since they not only avoid paying taxes each year, but also have perfect control over how much and when they sell in order to lock in those juicy long-term capital gains tax rates. Third, before we get into the free options, there's one more thing that, depending on how engaged you want to be, might make you a lot of money. Rental revenue. To make this work, I don't believe you need a 20% down payment or a very competitive market with all cash investors. Despite the fact that this is an option, it is perfectly possible to make money with no out-of-pocket expenses, even if you don't have a home of your own. Here's the thing. Yeah, if you buy a house and rent it out to earn a monthly profit, you're doing well. However, if you're just starting out and don't have a lot of money, you could make a lot of money by renting out an underused bedroom or some extra storage space, such as a garage. Fourth, I have the perfect answer for everyone who doesn't have any extra cash, yet wants to generate money without spending any. This would entail selling items you currently own. Now, I understand that in order to sell something, you must first own it. But I'm willing to bet that almost all of us have something we don't use that is collecting dust in the closet. that could be sold for money. Sites like eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist make it extremely simple to list whatever you have. Place it up for auction, have the buyer cover shipping, and your total time commitment is simply taking pictures of what you have, listing it online, writing a description, and then waiting for it to sell. Worst case, you're not out any money, and you get to keep what you already have. Of course, this isn't a long-term side hustle, and there's only so much you can sell until you're living in an empty apartment sleeping on $100 bills. But it's a fantastic place to start, because you'll get compensated for things you already own, and it'll free up space for other hobbies. Plus, it's something that probably 90% of you watching right now could start doing right away, and then put that money towards things like investments, dividend stocks, and the following one we're about to address. Fifth, if you want a guaranteed side hustle with all the obligations of operating a side hustle, you should consider getting a part-time job. Some people will be offended by this, but it's true. I know, I sound ancient when I say this, but I'm just amazed at how complicated people want to make things, or how glamorized it is to bootstrap your way to making $5 an hour. Working for someone else gives you guaranteed money, predetermined hours, and no chance of not being paid, unless your employer is bad, because you're doing it for yourself. But you know what? It's beside the point. So a part-time job is usually the first thing that comes to mind when you want to earn a little extra cash. It doesn't have to be glamorous, and it also doesn't have to pay you well. Look for potential choices within your community if you're willing to do some extra work for a local business, for someone else, or work beyond your usual hours, evenings, or weekends. Sixth, starting your own business. Even though it requires a lot more work and is pretty much the opposite of our last choice, it could be very profitable financially. I believe this is one of the most underutilized sources of money that not enough people take advantage of. Because having a side business apart from your main job is not only a wonderful way to make more money, but it also diversifies your portfolio in case something goes wrong and you need a backup plan. And that's all for today. I'd want to thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like it, subscribe, click the notification bell, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. That's all for now, and I'll see you again soon.